So if you are considering downsizing into a 55-year-old community, well, you may be wondering about some of your options. Well, is moving to a 55 plus community really for you? What are the pros and cons? And well, there are actually 4 different 55 plus community options to choose from. So we'll take a look at each of the options as well as some of the pros and cons of living in a 55-year-old community. So the 4 different senior communities that you can choose from to purchase in our area are as follows. Number 1, mobile and or manufactured home on a leased land. Number 2, manufactured home on what we call fee simple, which just means you own the land. And number 3 are condos and townhomes within a senior community. Number 4 is attached and detached single-family homes in a 55-year-old plus community. Now, before I break these down, I'm Harold Powell. I'm a local real estate agent serving Ventura and the surrounding areas. And if you like my videos and want to stay up to date on all things real estate for Ventura, well, then I suggest hitting the subscribe, the like, and bell icon to be notified of future content. All right, so let's dive into the 4 options. Now, the first option, option number 1, is a mobile home or manufactured home on leased land. Now, in this option, you are paying rent for the land space. Unfortunately, the space rent is typically not a tax deduction. And unlike traditional homeowners, you'll build equity only on your home, not on the land. You will commonly find the rent in the senior mobile home parks to start around $600 a month for the older coaches and then up to maybe $1,000 a month or more for newer manufactured homes, depending on the park. Now, the one benefit is that there is no HOA fee, but you do have a park manager that oversees the management and the rules of the park. Additionally, the space rent does not include any type of utility. So buying a home through a land lease contract sometimes may be an attractive option in light of the lower purchase price of those that own the land. Now, one of the more popular attractions to these parks are the newer manufactured homes that have actually replaced the previous older mobile home. So the newer modular homes are much more attractive inside and outside. They offer modern amenities, gourmet-sized kitchens, vaulted ceilings, skylights, recessed lighting. The appeal for these newer modular properties have been very popular for retirees who are looking to downsize and not have to fix up anything. So the other big difference to be aware of between leased land purchase and a fee simple is that the higher cost of financing. If you do need to finance a purchase, then you can expect to pay a much higher interest rate on a mobile home that sits on leased land than a fee simple property that actually has a foundation attached to it. You can usually find it as much as 1% or more higher than a conventional financing. Option 2, modular home in a senior community on fee simple land. Now, as I mentioned earlier, this option means that you own the land, so you pay property taxes, which are a tax deduction, unlike leased land. Here, the HOA governs the community and sets up CC&Rs. Side note, most of the manufactured home that has a permitted foundation on the property allows for conventional financing. However, some of the older manufactured homes on the fee simple land do not have attached foundations. And this is important because if it doesn't have a foundation permit, then it will not actually qualify for conventional financing. And you'll actually have to obtain mobile home financing at a higher interest rate or get a permit to have the foundation properly attached to the land. Option number 3, condos and townhomes in a 55 plus community. Now, there are a variety of senior living condos built between 1960s and into the 2000s. It is more common to see actually single level units here, and some communities have like stack units with elevators. Otherwise, typically you'll see them side by side offering a modest patio or balcony area. Now, the difference between these and the modular choice is you have shared walls and proximity to neighbors is much closer. Also, if you do need to finance a purchase, you can obtain conventional financing. Now, as far as pricing, you will find that some of the condo options can be less expensive and some more expensive than the previous two options, depending on the age, location, features, and size. Option number 4, the attached and detached single-family homes in a senior community. There are a few different attached and detached communities to choose from, and these properties will likely be obviously the most expensive of the 4 options. The newest addition to the 55-year-old communities is the Grove in Camarillo. Now, this recent development is a gated upscale 55-plus community of attached and detached homes that range from 1,500 to 2,900 plus square feet. And the community has actually an impressive array of amenities, including a 4,900 square foot rec center, a pool, a spa, outdoor kitchen, and fireplace. And by offering additional amenities such as pickleball courts, a putting green, bocce ball, as well as extensive walking trails with dog parks, it really caters to the active senior. And yes, there are other single family community options that are less expensive. So let's get into the pros and cons of living in an over 55 community. Here are the 4 pros. Pro number 1, peace and quiet. Another thing that is great about a 55 plus community is the peace and quiet. It's nice that it's just quiet most of the time. You know that without children running around through the neighborhood or teenagers driving in and out every day, you're going to have a much more relaxed, quiet feeling of safety and when you're out walking around the neighborhood. Pro number 2 is amenities. Now, part of the draw is not just obviously peace and quiet, but the amenities that are part of someone's lifestyle. So we see communities offering more than just a bingo and bunco activity with pickleball, golfing, hiking trails, dog parks. So in some communities, you'll find on-site RV storage and dumping station. Now, the 2 benefits are the convenience of being able to have easy access to your RV at a moment's notice. And the other is that the cost of RV storage is a fraction of what you would normally pay at a private storage site. I know of one community that allows RV storage for maybe about $150 a year, which would normally run close to $150 a month if you stored it at one of the private storage facilities in town. So, pro number 3 is maintenance. Now, obviously one of the pros to a 55 plus community is similar to any condo association in that most of these communities are going to have HOA fees that maintain the grounds and common areas. And in some cases, they may take care of additional areas as well, such as your trees and front lawns in some cases. Now, the benefit being that it's taken care of for you and you can leave for an extended amount of time and not have to worry about it. So, pro number 4 is community support. So for many living in a senior community, it creates actually kind of a safety net, providing seniors with emotional and social support that enhances the lifestyle. So sometimes with families being further away, it's helpful to have a community that can lend a hand when needed. And while having on-site activities, fitness classes, and events, it really fosters more of that sense of community. So those are the pros. But there is one interesting side note that could be a pro or con. If you're a single man, the typical ratio of men to women is 3 to 1. So single men may get a lot more attention than you're used to. Otherwise, let's move on to the cons. Number 1 is age restrictions. Probably the most important restriction for a senior community is the age requirement of being 55 or older. Now, if someone or spouse under the 55-year-old age wants to move in with the 55 plus owner, they will need to verify with the community regarding the age restriction. So some required a minimum age of 40 and others may be 45 or older for the second resident. So in some communities, they have to be approved by the park as well. And it's important to know that senior communities are only allowed a certain percentage of occupants that are between 40 to 54 years old in order to maintain their 55 plus park status. Number 2, Pet restrictions. Now, each community will have different restrictions as well as the number of pets allowed. Some will have weight restrictions, maybe of 35 pounds or less. Others have restrictions that have nothing to do with size, but rather the breed of the dog. And they may only allow non-aggressive breeds and personalities, which will require management to meet the dog and see if they are aggressive before approving. So if you do have a pet or pets, best to find out what the community restrictions are. Number 3, guest restrictions. There are several different restrictions when it comes to guests. Communities often require the homeowner supervise any guest that's 14 years or younger, as well as sometimes time restrictions in any of the common use areas. Longer stay times are allowed and will range up to 60 to 90 days in some communities. And as far as caregivers, each community will have their own set of guidelines, which may require a background check or other requirements. Now, the plus side of all these restrictions is that in some ways, it can help keep the property value up by creating some level of order. And I will say that living in any type of HOA or community that has rules, there for the protection of the overall health of the community. But there are times when one is cited for, let's say, an infraction that may seem petty. Otherwise, it's best that you review the park HOA rules so that you're not caught off guard by the restrictions. Well, there you have the pros and cons of living in a senior community. So the question is, do the pros outweigh the cons for you? Feel free to leave a comment below, and thanks for watching.